Everybody, old school comic book reviews. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit different. This is a more modern comic. This is Ultimate Captain America issues 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is just one solid story arc. I wanted to talk about this comic book just because I'm a little bit conflicted about it. The way I'm in a different way than I normally am. Normally, if I'm on a fence about the comic, it's because, well, I thought the writing was bad, or I didn't like the art, or I thought it was too cliched, or something like that. But anyway, let's go back. Okay, basically, this is a Captain America story set in the Ultimate Universe, and for people who don't know, earlier, the early 2000s or whatever, Marvel came out with their Ultimate line. The idea being that they're going to make some of the characters a little bit more contemporary. We'll pretend that the characters are just now being created in modern times, and and people can read these stories without having to worry about crossovers and 30 years of like continuity and things like that. And it pretty worked. It worked for a minute. Some of the characters, like I said, they were just kind of pushed up to modern times. Some other characters were drastically, reworked and had completely different backstories and whatnot. But for the most part, that's what it was all about. Ultimate Captain America is a little bit different than, well, it's actually pretty similar to traditional Captain America or 616 Captain America. In the sense that, well, the origin's pretty much the same. The way the characters are different is I guess you would say the personalities of the characters were handled different. Ultimate Captain America is a lot more aggressive, a little bit angrier, tougher, a bit more hardcore. He comes across a little bit more like a 40s tough guy almost than traditional Captain America that's always being portrayed as this kind of Boy Scout character or this saintly character, always saying the right thing and so on and so forth. Ultimate Captain America would insult people by saying, oh, you're acting like a girl, or calling somebody a meatball, or using some other outdated slang or whatever. But that was an interesting take on the character. That's fine, whatever. Okay, so jumping towards now, this particular story, what's going on? Cap's out on a mission, I guess. Ultimate Captain America's out on a mission, and what's going on is someone has reverse engineered the super soldier serum and is selling it on the black market. Cap gets involved. He's going to put a stop to it or whatever, and we find out that the man who's actually behind it all is a super soldier created during the Vietnam era, Frank Simpson, who has like this the American flag kind of tattooed onto his face, and at one point, he gets the drop on Cap and he tells him, I'm going to show you that everything you believe in and everything you think you're fighting for is a lie, ultimately, or I shouldn't say ultimately, but, at one point, Cap is captured and, the bad guy is, torturing him and trying to brainwash him and so on and so forth. And that's mainly the plot. What I like about the story is, actually I like the fact that it's just 4 issues. It's really a compact, tight action adventure story, It's boom, boom, boom. Not a lot of time wasting and not a lot of middling about. The way the story's structured is good, all the captions and all the dialogue just moves the story along, You're not subjected to, lots of like filler pages where, I don't know, where Cap is tying up his shoes and it takes 2 pages or something. I'm exaggerating, but there's not a lot of decompression going on here, and I really like that. Let's see here. Now, one of the main things about this story is a good chunk of it is lifted from an old movie called Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now was this war movie directed by Francis Ford Coppola, set in Vietnam. It was released back in the late 70s, but, it's pretty much a renowned film, but, it's from years ago. I would say the main plot is taken probably from the last third of that movie. In that movie, Martin Sheen plays a special forces agent who has to go into Cambodia to stop Marlon Brando, who's a colonel who's gone into the jungle and gone insane. And that's the same sort of dynamic that's going on here, with Ultimate Captain America being the Martin Sheen character, and Ultimate Nuke or Frank Simpson in the role of the Marlon Brando role. I don't think that Jason Aaron. Oh, I should have mentioned the story is written by Jason Aaron, who's done stuff like Scalp. He's done some of the newer Wolverine stories, and I think he did a Ghost Rider story, which I haven't read. And Ron Garney. Ron Garney's a pretty famous, Marvel DC artist. He did a really good run on art for Justice League or JLA a few years ago. Before that, he did, regular traditional Captain America artwork too. So, he's really familiar with the character and so on and so forth. But anyway, what I was about to say is I really don't think that, they're trying to plagiarize the movie in a way that, like they think they're getting away with it. I mean, they're pretty much upfront about it. It's pretty much an homage, The cover of the second issue has Captain America kind of, submerged in like a little river here. You can just see the top of his head. That's pretty much a tribute to the scene toward the end of Apocalypse Now, where Martin Sheen is trying to sneak up on Marlon Brando before he, does him in. There's even a scene where Frank Simpson captures a couple of SHIELD agents, and he says, "Are you guys assassins?" And one of the guys says, "Well, I'm a soldier." That's a line of dialogue taken straight from the movie. But they didn't do the punchline. In the movie, it goes like this: Martin Sheen's Marlon Brando says to Martin Sheen, "Are you an assassin?" And Martin Sheen says, "Well, I'm a soldier." And then the punchline is Marlon Brando goes, "You're neither. You're an errand boy sent by some grocery clerks, come to collect the bill." That's terrible. I can't do a Brando, but that's the line. And like I said, I don't think it's a terrible idea for a story. I think it was a pretty good idea for a story. Just dealing with how you have Ultimate Captain America representing a certain viewpoint and a certain generation, and Frank Simpson representing another generation, and then how all those things, come together, in the modern generation. I think that's actually a good idea for a story. The main thing I didn't like about this story is... Oh, and I should have mentioned, there's going to be some spoilers here. So, spoiler. But the main thing I didn't like about the story is Ultimate Captain America, the way his personality is written, is a giant asshole. And I hate to say that, and I like Captain America. I like the whole idea of the Ultimate Universe. I don't have a problem with, characters who are like edgy or anti-heroes, or, who have to kill once in a while, or even if that's their shtick, I mean, I like action movies, I like comics, I like all that stuff. We've had like maybe, 30 years of, anti-heroes in comics, 30 years of characters like, say, the Punisher or Wolverine or whatever. So I have no problem with him being a tough guy, without him, having to kill people or whatever, being aggressive. I don't have a problem with that at all. I do have a problem with the fact that he doesn't seem to be doing it for any sort of real reason other than he's a tough guy. I mean, the character walks around, he insults people, he, pushes people, he basically gets what he wants by pushing people around and insulting them, you know what I mean? And me personally, I just don't think that's the personality that you should have for a character called Captain America. And I know how some people are kind of bored with traditional Captain America, or a lot of times writers write him where he's this perfect Boy Scout, or he's Saint Steve Rogers or whatever. But I don't see the point in making the character, I see the point in making the character, more aggressive. I don't see the point in making the character just an unlikable person. He's basically a bully, and he's not the bully that's from the wrong side of the tracks that takes your lunch money. He's the bully that shoves you in a locker or whatever, but gets away with it because he happens to be the captain of the football team or something. You know what I mean? And I just think that's tragic. And the thing is, it's not like it's what do I want to say? Bad writing. I actually think the writing's good. The writing's good enough that I buy the character personality. It's just such a terrible personality, and that's really disturbs me. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. You know what? I want, I feel like I want 616 Steve Rogers to like come here and like just backhand this guy and say, get a hold of yourself, okay? Just get over yourself. I want John Walker. I want the U.S. agent, a character who was deliberately created to be the more hardcore, more conservative counter to Steve Rogers to like slap this guy. I want, I want Guy Gardner, a guy who's designed to be the cocky guy. But he's a cocky, arrogant superhero, but he's still a good guy. He's a likable, cocky guy. I want that guy to come here. I want him to come from the DC universe and just like take off his ring and just like chop Ultimate Cap in the throat or something. But whatever. That's the thing that really disturbs me about this story. On a more positive thing, though, I really love Ron Garney's art in this. It's well laid out. It's never confusing. You could tell what's going on all the time. He's good with the figures. He's good with making everything larger in life, but at the same time, being able to lay out a story. It's just really kinetic when it has to be and dynamic. And like I said, he's able to draw realistic enough people. He's able to make all the characters look individual. Different individuals. That's what I want to say. And it's really great. It's really great. If they do continue this story or this comic, I would love it if Ron Garney was still on the art. But I think they really need to do something about how they approach, the character and the personality of Ultimate Captain America. And I guess that's it. I guess I didn't give away that many spoilers. Okay, that's it. Thanks. Let me know what you think.